Good Tuesday morning, everybody, and welcome once again to Arnie's Fantasy World of Sports here on the Lenny Melnick Fantasy Sports Network. And we've got a lot of ground to cover today. Week one in the NFL, it's a wrap. And we're going to talk about some players that you may want to be looking for on the waiver wire this week. We're going to look at a little baseball. In fact, we're going to start first with baseball. And I want to first take a look at the standings. Let's see where we are with about, 10 or so games left to play in the season. So I want to first take a look at the American League, where last night the White Sox pick up a big win, 3-1 over the Twins. I told you in the offseason, look out for those White Sox. Their pitching is better than Minnesota's, and so far, spot on. Right now, the White Sox have the best record in the American League at 31-16. This is a team, everyone, that people were saying was 1 year away when this season began. Well, that was incorrect. And another team we're going to talk about in the National League in just a moment, hotter than a firecracker. But the Twins are 31-16. The Rays are 30-17, so they're one game apart for best record. And the A's, 30-18. And so they're only a game and a half behind for the best record in the American League. The 4 seed right now, the Twins, 30-19. Now they trail the White Sox by 2 full games. The Blue Jays at 26-20 are in the 5th hole. The Astros at 23-24 are in 6th. That's the second place team in the West. Now they're 23-24 with a losing record, but it's the first and second place teams in each division that automatically make it. The 2 wild cards today, the Yankees at 26-21 and the Indians at 26-21. Well, the Indians are 3 games behind the Twins for second place in that division. So that may be with like 11 games to go or 13 games to go, a little bit to overcome. But the Yankees only trail the Blue Jays by a half game. They've got a lot of games left with the Blue Jays. And so those games between Toronto and New York going down the stretch are going to be humongous. That's right. There's a word for today, humongous. So let's look at the National League. Last night, the Padres, 5-run spot in the 7th. They beat the Dodgers. It's the 3-game set I told you about at Petco. It was Lamet and Kershaw. And game 1 goes to San Diego. And we wake up this morning with the Dodgers, still the best record in all of baseball, but only a 2-game lead over the Padres. 1 in the win column, a game and a half lead, a 2-game lead in the loss column, a game lead in the win column. The Dodgers are 33-15. The Padres, Tabitha Smith, confused with humongous, huh? It's just one of those words that comes out every now and then. But it's good to see Tabitha in the room this morning. We're going to try to talk a little bit baseball and football, so hang with me. So the Padres, young team. I saw a stat I got to share with you. Fernando Tatis Jr., if you don't know about him, you've been under a rock, you're going to know about him now. One of the most exciting young players in all of baseball. Probably most valuable player in the National League this year. Plays shortstop, 15 homers. 300 average. But over the last 10 games or so, he was hitting 220. And over those games, the Padres continue to win. The Tommy Pham, the trade in the offseason, who broke his hamate bone, he's coming back soon. He's at the practice field taking swings. It wouldn't surprise me for Tommy Pham to be back next week, the last week of the regular season, which can only bolster the Padres team. Are the Padres as good on paper as the Dodgers? No, but they're close. Are they as good on the field as the Dodgers? Well, anytime you play, anybody can win, right? So the Padres, big winners last night. The Dodgers still in first place in the National League. The Cubs hold the second spot, 28-20. They didn't play yesterday. The Braves at 28-20. And did you see what the Orioles did to the Braves last night? Like 14-1. Yeah, Baltimore shellacked. There's another word. Shellacked the Braves last night, 14-1. Wow. The Braves still in third slot in the National League. Padres 4, The thing I want to talk about next, real quick, let's just pause, let's slow it down. Let's slow the pace down a little bit. It was a month ago that the Miami Marlins, the fledgling, there you go, Miami Marlins, they weren't playing baseball because their team had been bombarded with the COVID virus. A lot of games were suspended. And now 45 games into their season, after numerous doubleheaders, trying to catch up with the rest of the league, the Marlins are 24-21. Now, when you look back at the 2020 season and you talk about who's the most surprising team, it's got to be the Miami Marlins. Don Mattingly, manager of the year. Go ahead, write it down. Former Yankee great, Don Mattingly. He is going to be the manager of the year. The Marlins have a game-and-a-half lead over the Phillies for that second slot. The Cardinals are in sixth at 21-21, and the Phillies and the Giants come in with the last two wild cards. Now, I say the Marlins, look, the Reds are in ninth place, and the Marlins lead the Reds by 3 games. So even if they don't finish in second, the Marlins have a 3-game lead over the Reds. The Reds have 11 games to play. So if the Reds were to go 8-3, the Marlins would have to have a corresponding record. Now, they play 15 more games, so there's some more double headers in line for Miami. But the Reds to go 8-3 would be monumental. First of all, Sonny Gray, one of their best pitchers, as you know, is on the IL. That's not good. The Reds seem to have all the talent in the world, but this year they've just not been able to put it together on the field. I don't feel good about the Reds making the playoffs. I do feel good about the Marlins. Those are our teams as we look at the standings this morning. I want to talk a little DFS with you, daily fantasy. If you're picking up players, you're playing daily fantasy baseball, here are some guys that you want to look at today. Jack Flaherty for the St. Louis Cardinals, pitching at Milwaukee. He's going to cost you around $9,400. In Flaherty's last start, the Cardinals appeared to take the gloves off of him. The kid gloves were off. He threw 5 innings, 95 pitches. He should be good to go. The Brewers are struggling. Flaherty's not had a full, if you would, ace-like season as we were expecting. He's striking out about 25% of the batters he faces with a 45.7 ground ball rate and only a 4.3% barrel rate. Let's explain that for a moment to you listeners who may not be familiar with barrel rate. The barrel of the bat, the sweet spot of the bat hitting the ball, okay? Only 4.3% of the time are batters putting that sweet spot of the bat on baseballs thrown and pitched by Jack Flaherty. Translated, that's really good. Okay, he faces a Brewers team today that strikes out 27% of the time versus right-handers with the sub 150 ISO and a sub 300 on-base average. Translated, the Brewers offense stinks, and this could be a coming out party for Cardinals ace Jack Flaherty. Another pitcher not quite as pricey, Yankee great Deivi Garcia. That's right, $6,800 today. He'll be making his 4th start of the season. He's been electric in 2 of his 3 starts. In those starts, he's thrown at least 6 innings. He struck out at least 6 batters. And Deivi has struck out 25.7% of the batters he has faced in those 3 starts and walked only 2 batters. Percentage-wise, he's walking only 2.9% of the batters that he's faced. He has limited opposing hitters to a 6.1% barrel rate and has a nice 28% hard hit rate. Garcia has been more than advertised for the Yankees and a shot in the arm for exactly what they need. And now he's facing a Jays team that they really need to beat. If they win today, they move back into second place. He'll also be making his first start at Yankee Stadium. And so I think he's a good value arm tonight. Now, some other arms, one more pricey, one not so much. Keep your eye on Yu Darvish, pitching tonight for the Cubs against Cleveland. But Darvish costs $11,000 today. And Danny Duffy, pitching for Kansas City at Detroit, sneaky pick, $7,700. How about a catcher? Sean Murphy for Oakland, $3,900. They're at Colorado and Antonio Sensatella. Now, Murphy's been hitting the ball hard all season. Results really haven't shown up yet. Excuse me. But that's changed over the last 8 games. Over the last 8 games, Sean Murphy has hit safely in 6 of those, a 391 average with 4 home runs. He's hitting it with such authority. He's racked up a 522 ISO, a 569 on base average, 23.5 barrel rate. Now, remember I was talking earlier about Flaherty's barrel rate, 4%, Debbie Garcia's 6%. Well, here, Murphy's at 23.5% barrel rate and a 47.1 hard hit rate. More impressively about Murphy of late, he has walked 20.7% of the time over those last 8 games. And he's playing in hitter's paradise tonight, Coors Field. It doesn't get any hitter happy than that one. Now, he's my pick of the day at catcher. In fact, he may be my pick of the day, period, for the price, $3,900. Other catchers to look at, Yasmani Grandal. The White Sox are in Minnesota. He's $5,100. And Salvador Perez, Kansas City, at Detroit, $4,300. All right, so let's talk about first base. How about Jared Walsh? Is that Joe Walsh's son? Life's been good to me so far. I don't know, but life's been good to Jared Walsh, I can tell you that. And his price tag has risen quite a bit. He's now $4,000. Walsh has hit safely in 6 straight games and 8 of his last 9. And over his last 6 games, he has 5 multi-hit games, and that's good for a 440 average. He's shown some really strong power over those 6 games. He's hit 4 home runs, 4 home runs, a 560 average over those games. His quality of contact's been impressive. He's barreling the ball 18% of the time, a 50% hard hit rate. He's crushing everything. Last year in the minors, he hit 36 homers. And tonight he faces Madison Bumgarner, who has not been the mad bum of old. At home this year, Madison Bumgarner of Hickory, North Carolina. There you go. He's a North Carolina boy. Madison Bumgarner at home has allowed left-handed hitters to hit 333 with a 367 on base average and has given up an average of 2.7 home runs over 9 innings. Walsh should be on today with massive upside. Other options, the great Freddie Freeman at Baltimore, $5,700. And here's another one, cheap priced. I know he didn't get a hit last night, but Christian Walker, same game as Jared Walsh, Arizona at LA Angels, and he's only $3,200. Second base, Dylan Moore, Seattle, facing off against Tyler Anderson. Quite the season in 2020 for Mr. Moore. Nobody saw it coming. Nobody. If you said you drafted Dylan Moore, I'm going to say you were on some substance that was impairing you quite a bit. Now, he went over in the doubleheader yesterday. So a lot of people are not going to be high on him today. He's at $3,800. I'm high on him. Before the doubleheader, he hit safely in 7 of his last 9, but only a 265 average. He has had 7 or more hits in 7 of 9 games. On the season, he's hitting 286 against right-handed pitching. He's just a cheap price, $3,800, and he's a barreler, a hard hit rate guy. Other options at second base are Whit Merrifield. Kansas City's at Detroit. He's 4,800. Ozzie Albies for Atlanta at Baltimore, 4,400. And Ty France, who didn't get a hit yesterday, but he has been hot of late. Seattle's playing San Francisco, again, because that's the same game as Dylan Moore against Tyler Anderson, and Ty France is only $4,000. Third base, here you go. Maikel Franco. Yeah, Maikel Franco. Now, he's $4,100. And we know Franco can be of the many streaks, good ones and bad ones. But he's facing Matt Boyd today. He's riding a 4-game hit streak, and he's hit safely in 10 of his last 11 games. And over those 11 games, he's hitting .391 with a .403 on base average, and a very impressive for Franco, only 12% strikeout rate. Franco is hitting .379 with a .393 on base average against left-handed pitching this season. And of course, Boyd is a left-handed pitcher. And Boyd is letting right-handed hitters hit .336 with a .447 on base average, 3.1 homers per 9. Franco and the Royals are a sneaky, cheap, nice stack tonight against Matt Boyd. And his shortstop partner, Alberto Mondesi, is in the same boat at $3,800. Mondesi's a switch hitter. We know he steals a lot of bases. He was having a season to forget until 10 games ago, and suddenly his bats must have had some energy, some 5-hour energy poured on them. I don't know. But in the last 10 games, he's hit safely in 9 for a .308 average and has 8 stolen bases in those 10 games. Also in those 10 games, he's hit 4 home runs. He's barreled the ball 17% of the time and has a 48% hard hit rate. He's hitting for average. He's stealing bases, flexing his muscle, hitting the ball out of the park. Price is up a little bit, $3,800, but he is a great option at a top-heavy shortstop position. Other options, Trevor Story. Colorado's playing Oakland, 5,600. Talk about some outfielders. How about Kevin Pillar going up at Colorado today against Sean Manaea of the Oakland A's? Sean Manaea has had a good string of starts lately, but sadly, he's not pitched at Coors in any of those. And now he's trying to keep that streak going at Coors Field. Now, Pillar has hit safely in 3 of his last 5 games in Coors with 2 extra base hits. On the season, he's hitting .306 against left-handed pitching. So I just think at the price you can get Kevin Pillar. Let's see, I'm looking, $4,100. Good, cheap price. Michael Brantley for Houston against Kyle Cody. Brantley is a good hitter, .308 average, 55% hard hit rate. He hits in the middle of that Astros lineup. Cody's not thrown more than 3 innings or 55 pitches in any appearance this year. So Brantley and the Astros will get him for probably 1 trip through the lineup and then a shaky Rangers bullpen. Load up on Astros. That's a great call for today. Load up on Astros. And have you been noticing DJ Stewart lately for the Orioles? You know, DJ Stewart, $2,400. They don't get hardly any cheaper than that. But DJ Stewart for the Orioles, he's hit safely in 8 of his last 10, good for a .394 average. He also has 7 home runs in that same span, and his quality of contact is even crazier. He's been barreling the ball 38% of the time, 52% hard hit rate, and he has a great match tonight against Yanoa tonight for Atlanta. Stewart, great pickup. Between Stewart in the outfield and my catcher option that I gave you, Sean Murphy, those are two great places to start with your DFS today. One at 2,400, the other at 3,900. So you're going to have two players, $6,300, which is going to leave you with around $43,000 to make bids on other players. So take that, go back and watch this again if you're playing daily fantasy baseball. Pick up these guys that are values. You will not be disappointed on this Tuesday. So let's talk a little NFL. Week 1 wrapped up last night. Pittsburgh wins. And the late game at Denver, Tennessee beats the Broncos 16-14. Takeaways from that sort of blend into what I want to talk about on the waiver wire for fantasy. Running back. I guess if you watched the game last night, and I have him on my team, he cost me a win. If James Conner plays the whole game last night, I'm 1-0. James Conner goes out in the second quarter, I'm 0-1. I lose by 1.5 points. If James Conner plays, I win. James Conner can't stay healthy. So now he's out, sprained ankle or something. Don't know if he'll play this week or not. We'll have to watch reports on James Conner. But in your waiver wires, here are some players, and I'm going to tell you the order in which I would pick them up. I was hoping my buddy Kurt Hinton be watching this morning. Kurt and I had a discussion yesterday, and I'm changing it around on you, Kurt. So hopefully you're watching a little bit this morning. But here are some players. You know, on Sunday, Marlon Mack ruptures his Achilles. He's out for the season. All of a sudden, Nyheim Hines, he of the North Carolina State Wolfpack alum, is now a fantasy darling. And he played really well Sunday. Malcolm Brown, Joshua Kelly, James Robinson, and Benny Snell. Benny Snell, the handcuff in Pittsburgh. Here's how I'm ranking those 5. And I think all 5 should be added in any format. Got that? Particularly deep leagues. Number 1 waiver wire pickup at running back for this week is Benny Snell of the Pittsburgh Steelers. First of all, Benny Snell has really trimmed down the fat, no doubt. Lost some weight. Last night, he gained over 100 yards, coming in the second quarter in relief of James Conner. And if Conner's out Sunday, then it only means a full load for Benny Snell. He's not, and I'm going to differentiate him from these other ones because of that. He's on a winning team. He's going to get all the touches. He may get replaced for a few downs. But if he plays Sunday and Conner is out, he's going to get 85% of all the carries. He got 115 yards last night in a backup role. He's my number 1 fantasy target in fantasy football this week. My number 2 is Nyheim Hines. Now, before last night, Hines would have been my number 1 pickup. He's going to catch a lot of passes. Phillip Rivers is a drop-down quarterback. He throws to his running backs is what that means. Rivers is not going to stay in that pocket long. He can't move at all. So he's going to drop down to running backs. And when Nyheim Hines is in the lineup, he's going to catch a lot of passes. And if you're in a half-point or full-point PPR league, then Nyheim Hines is golden. Now, he won't be your starting back. But if he's on your waiver wire, and I'm only talking waiver wires this morning. We'll talk more about who to start on Thursday. But, you know, certain players aren't going to be on your waiver wire. Colt Starter is not on your waiver wire. But Nyheim Hines may be. He's my number 2 ad for the week. Number 3, James Robinson, Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, am I carried away with the Jags? No. But am I carried away with starting running backs in the NFL who are the number 1 guy who are going to get the majority of the touches? Oh, yes, I am. James Robinson, rookie running back for Jacksonville, played well on Sunday. He's going to be the number 1 runner in that offense. And for that reason, he is my number 3 waiver wire priority this week, which leaves me with Malcolm Brown and Joshua Kelly. I'm going to take Malcolm Brown at number 4 for the Rams, and I'm going to do that because, number one, he's going to get a lot of goal line work. That's going to be a shared duty job right now, as is Joshua Kelly. But I think Brown and Kelly will both get touches, both get green zone. I'm going to call it green zone, not red zone, because you make your money green in the zone. So in the green zone, Malcolm Brown and Joshua Kelly are going to get a lot of touches. Good morning, Lenny. It's good to see you. Good job this morning earlier. So those are my waiver wire ads at running back for this week. Now, I don't know. I think it's critical. There are other injuries that you got to keep an eye on. Don't know if any of you guys are Greg Kittle owners. He sprained his knee against the Cardinals in the first half on Sunday, but he played the whole second half. So he's listed as questionable, but it looks to me like him playing the second half is a sure sign he's not going to miss any time. So I don't put a lot of worry into Mr. Kittle this morning. Another player, though, I want to throw at you before we sign off today is Jerick McKinnon of the San Francisco 49ers. In my Yahoo League last week, he scored 11.9 points. Got a touchdown. He rushed 3 times for 24 yards. He caught 3 balls for 20 yards and a touchdown. Now, why McKinnon? Because Garoppolo showed Sunday he is a drop down to his running back and tight end kind of quarterback. He's not looking down the field. He's looking to his running backs. And I know Raheem Mostert is the number 1 back in San Francisco, but McKinnon showed on Sunday he's number 2. And if you recall, I've said this before, McKinnon was the number 1 back headed into camp 2 years ago and suffered a season-ending injury. He's back now, fully healthy. He's going to be used a lot in third down situations. He's going to catch a lot of passes. If you're in a half-point, full-point PPR, Jerick McKinnon is a great ad. So that's where we are on this Tuesday. It's great to be with you today. I'll be back on Thursday. I will not be on tonight, but I will be back Thursday morning. We'll talk more football. We'll talk more baseball. The season's winding down. It's really getting exciting. And I love the Marlins. Sixto Loscano, loving the guy. Yeah. Sixto Sanchez. Sixto Loscano played for the Brewers. Just throwing you there one. How about that? See if you're paying attention on Tuesday morning. So we'll be talking to you again Thursday morning here on Lenny Melnick Fantasy Sports, Arnie's Fantasy World of Sports. Everybody have a great